Oh yeah.
I don't know about amazing because I haven't been drawing for a while because of being sick, but
How
I'll do
do
my
I
best.
have
Huh?
in Roll20? How do I have all the options to talk except as myself?
What? I don't
Him.
understand.
Yeah. I don't see Laura's name. I see a bunch of other names. Now you're me. How'd you do that?
Who's you? What? Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, as Zombie Talia.
Yeah, but I'm trying to push
Oh.
it to my character name. And I do not have access to my character. Yes, please. Which would explain why I was having issues opening my character sheet. Oh. I just downloaded the Discord app on my computer finally. But that's okay. Is it she can play next time? One second. I am going to. Hold on one second.
Da da da.
I don't know. Just hold.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yes, I'm doing okay, son. Oh, I'm just gonna warn you guys. I have bronchitis, so I might.
Ooh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm back.
I have bronchitis, so if I did take some cough medicine with codeine in it, but I might break out into coughs, like terrible, terrible, mind-shattering coughs for me on my end.
It's okay.
So I'm gonna apologize.
I'll cough with you, but it'll be for some different reasons.
Well, I thought I was con crud, but it ended up being bronchitis. So, you know. Yeah.
There we go.
A ship.
Well, let's
The
take a
ship
looky.
is the shit.
Like the magic school bus of spaceships.
No.
All right, final straw has happened. I'm going to go kennel the dogs. I'll be right back.
Come on, let's be the magic school bus of spaceship. It'll be fun. Okay. We're space truckers.
Yeah. Uh, wow. That's such a sexy looking aircraft. Not
Okay,
or
where are you sharing
or
this
ship.
on?
It's the main screen.
Oh, oh, okay. That's too much. Too much. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, interesting. I heard
You
make it
heard me
better,
go?
and I didn't.
I was not attacking my doggies. They were attacking each other. I put myself on mute this time. They actually went pretty quickly because I gave them plenty of warnings before we started. So they were going to behave or be kennelled. Mm-hmm. No, it's their bedrooms. If they can't play nice with each other, they go to their rooms. You know how with cats you can like spray bottle them like with water when they're misbehaving?
Sometimes.
You can do that with dogs too with the garden hose and it works exactly the same.
Oh my god. Luckily
Kill
for
'em.
our dogs, you don't need no. So I don't know what. So for Ika hates getting wet with a squirt bottle, and now it's to the point where you don't even have to have a squirt bottle. If you make a tss noise, he acts like you sprayed him with a squirt.
I love it.
Yeah, Ika's my brother's backyard Shiba Inu.
Oh.
He's gorgeous, but he's a freaking pain in the ass and very
The
rude.
prettier they are, the more issues they give you. Didn't you learn that from any time in your dating life? Not that long of a list, excuse me.
Da, da, da. Like I was gonna come to the RingCon thing this past weekend, but you know, coughing up my lungs. No, I got mine before that. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Yar. Yes. Rar. Like, gar.
He's a pirate, he thinks.
I am a pirate.
I love the escalation.
Hint, hint, hint.
The name is Starburn. Already has one. Duh. Has a little flamey tramp stamp across the side.
Our ship has a tramp stamp on it.
Which one do you think came first? Gotta mark my belongings.
What you talking about?
Excuse me. I'm an incredibly moral person. I am lawful good in all the things I participate in. Thank you very
Lies.
much.
Lies. So many lies, you lying liar.
Just one sentence. One long sentence of lies. That's it.
Lies and obfuscations. All right, I got a pencil sketch for my character down.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say pencil sketch. I'm using a tablet. But yeah. Stop talking about lies, Senan. He's in the background going, lies.
See, I thought you said lice, and I was incredible. If he's talking about lice, you should probably pay attention.
No, he's not talking about lice. He's talking about lies.
Not to any of us.
Okay, let's see. How do I want to color her? Oh, why do I always make my people with cat eyes?
People with cat eyes.
Well, no, like you know how cats have when people do kind of like cat eyes, you got like that. That's I don't know how to describe it. Where you got the line coming from the inner corner of your eye going out. I call it cat eyes. I don't know if there's a real name to it. I'm like, okay, there's like I guess it's like I don't know. All right, she just has very thick eyeliner.
Very thick eyeliner, huh?
Yeah.
Going for a blue Egyptian look.
Something like that. What did I do to where are my glasses? Oh, there they are. I have to take my glasses off to draw. Okay. Do 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 do. Da, 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 da.
Now you're going full
Da-da-da.
Jeopardy.
Yes, I am.
I am
Sure.
reading my complicated backstory we came up with in February, Jim.
I know.
Ah.
I had to go way back in Facebook by just Google searching words like lightsaber, pilot, smuggler to find the actual conversation going for that far back, and then screenshotted the like overnight conversation we had when we started idea mashing on this.
Yes, we have been planning this since February.
Oh
And
wow.
we aren't
Lord.
starting it until it is September.
And people wonder why I put stuff on the Patreon to start planning like months in advance because it takes this long to get people together, stuff together. And if it helps, looking on the Patreon page for the NPCs that I'll have to make in the menagerie. So if you want to claim somebody, just make sure you change their name and you claim them. If you don't want to
can I
claim, you can just keep them as an NPC menagerie.
is my character an NPC menagerie?
It is unless you claim it.
I claim her.
I
I'm
mean,
drawing her portrait, Jim.
I will totally
Updated
say
features on the ship.
if this was, say, Firefly, you would
Yeah.
totally be the Inara character who's, gorgeous and cunning.
Okay, I can
No
work with
one
that.
sees you coming. And if you look at your inventory, you'll notice you have the things like the loaded dice, the marked cards,
Yeah,
the
I
2
like that idea.
variable powered holdout pistols that go into concealed holsters. And your armor is a smuggler's trench coat, which is basically a giant coat of pockets.
Yay! I love coats of pockets.
And I'm
Okay.
pretty sure David is claiming the Rhodian mechanic.
Yes.
So nobody on the Patreon voted for a Twi'lek bounty hunter or a
Got it.
ex-Jedi Zabrak. We did get
Somebody's got to keep this bucket running.
couple votes for Wookiee Warrior, so I will totally make an NPC Wookiee Warrior, which I kind of did in Ogdudes. And he's ridiculous because remember that one Star Wars one shot we did with that ridiculous Wookiee?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of on par with that guy.
That's what that was what I was picturing, and if I was looking at doing that one, but I decided nah.
And since he's night level experience, I'm like, we're going to take a secondary career and we're going to pick Big Game Hunter.
Jeez.
And then all his cash was basically spent on a bowcaster and a vibro glaive.
Hey, Jim, did you know that I originally named the ship something completely different?
But you forgot, didn't you?
I did. I like the new name better.
Okay? So have you changed the ship's new name? I don't see the.
No, what's the name again?
Starburn. But originally I had named it the Monaco. Or the Monaco.
Star what?
Burn.
Burn. B-U-R-N.
Those who don't learn.
B-U-R-N.
Burn. And by the way, I will totally throw it out there that I do know for sure that Tuscon is going to have a lot of GMs running games this year.
Well, I know I'm doing some panels, but I am not vending because
Oh,
I don't tend to vend at that. I don't tend to vend at that con. Oh my
yeah,
god!
it's a hard one
doing that.
for actually vending. I mean, it would be better to put stuff just up in the silent auction than actually have a booth and vend.
Yeah, I'm gonna have. Hopefully, I got on the list to be on the art panels. But we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So hopefully I got some panels.
I know I still got to submit for AJ what game I'm going to run. I'm probably going to aim for Friday night so that way it doesn't interfere with any panels.
Yeah.
Because usually whenever I say, okay, here's the games I'm going to run, they of course happen during the best panels. And I'm like, no, I'm missing 3 panels for 1 4-hour gaming session. But this year,
I remember
I hooked up
at
AJ with a
TCC the first time, Jim and I, you invited me to play one shot with you, and I was able to get 1 hour away from the table before they started coming back for me.
You thought you were getting away and then they pulled you back in. That's what
Oh
you
my
think.
god. These character sheets make me feel dumb.
Okay.
I know.
So they're not that they're just complicated. You will totally get used to them. They're way easier than D&D. So I'm looking over your
Yeah.
shoulder, but I'm not touching anything. So on your character sheet at the very top, you'll see it's got 3 tabs. One which is character sheet, one which is bio and info. That's where your background story you should probably paste, as well you'll see your pictures there. On the character sheet, you have the first group of tabs are character sheet, then vehicle sheet. You can ignore that because I put the ship on its own character sheet so everybody can play with it. But usually when you click vehicle sheet there, you'll notice there's 3 different options for vehicles. There's a starship, which is yours. I'll totally put the stats in there for your ship if you want, but it's probably better if everyone uses the character Starburn for that ship. Then you have planetary vehicles, which are like your speeders, your speeder bikes, things like that. And then beast is pretty much an animal. If your ship is hit, if you look on your character sheet, you can see what it looks like. There's a general information which shows your speed, your hull trauma, your armor, your shields. But then it has a tab called critical hits. If you click on that, it'll show you when you get hit critically in the ship. Basically, it'll do the 1d100 roll and show you how messed up your stuff is. I see that you jumped ahead and went to item inventory. I like that. You're worried about your items. So it's probably because I was there last. So if you click character sheet at the top, the first of the red squares, you'll see where it says Destiny Pool, and there's a little button that says Use Light Side. So whenever you want to use a story point to make something happen interesting in the story, like make your skill better or make someone shooting you worse. And if you want to bring that back because you just made it disappear, click the little arrow next to Dice and Destiny Pool that's pointing to the right, and that'll all come back. There you go. Yes, I'm totally peeking over your shoulder. So in the dice pool section, usually
Whose
you
shoulder?
don't need to worry about that, but the dice pool lets you add different dice in. So usually the left-hand side is your blue boost dice, your green characteristic dice, your yellow skill dice. Those are basically the only ones you need to really worry about. I'll basically fudge any of those that need to be changed. Anyone that has the force will actually need in the middle there, you'll see a white octagon with a white circle in it. That's your force dice. So if you're, say, a Padawan, you have force rank 1. You have one of those dice. So whenever you have to use your force powers, you have to roll that and see if you get light side points or dark side points. You can use
Is
the
this what
dark
you're talking
side.
about?
I think you're putting a number in there, but unless you click out, I don't see it.
Oh, you can't see where I'm pointing with my arrow?
Nope.
Well, that's balls.
Basically, that's the dice I'm talking about. Ooh, wow, that's a good roll. You would love to have kept that roll. 4 light side pips. So as you scroll down, you'll see the Destiny Pool. The only button on that section you need to worry about is the Use Light Side. So if you ever want to do something really good or basically block me from hurting you, use the light side. It'll make my roll more difficult to hit you, or it'll make your roll better for whatever skill you're using. Or you can click Use a Light Side and make some kind of minor narrative example of like, hey, I know a guy in this town. Sure you do. Tell me a little bit about that guy since you spent one of your destiny points for it. So for those that are new to Star Wars, or haven't played it in a really long time, I will clear the pool. You'll see a little button saying that I forced updated your pool. You'll see in the Destiny pool that there are 0 light and 0 dark. So at the beginning of every game session, the first thing you will hear David say, "You haven't cleared the Destiny pool yet." He laughs because it's usually either him or Gunter that's saying it right off the bat. And the first thing we'll do beginning play is everybody will click just what he did there, which was roll Destiny.
I was gonna say I was pretty dark there for a moment.
Yeah. So right now you're seeing what's popping up in the chat is Zikwa just rolled the light side, which is what you guys use, and Aurora rolled a dark side. So now you guys see in your pool
Okay.
it's 1 light, 1 dark.
Okay,
And
so
then
wait. What do I have to roll?
you want to
So what am I rolling?
roll Destiny. And you rolled 2 lights. So
Hey.
there's 3 points for you to play with, 1 point for me to play with. So generally in Star Wars, the rule is, as written, both sides can upgrade the roll by using story points. I always give you guys the option if you want to make it only one person can click Destiny points, so only one person can upgrade the difficulty or the advantage, rather than both people doing it and all kinds of gonzo stuff happens. Both rules work great. So it's usually a player session 0 question that I throw it out to you guys of, do you want to just rules as written with the story points or Destiny points, or only one person gets to flip at a time? We can discuss that a little later if you want as we keep going. So next you're going to see your character's stats. You have wounds, which is your physical health, basically your hit points, and then you have strain, which is kind of your emotional and endurance mashed together. Strain will go up and down during a game all the time because you can opt to take 2 strain to take an extra maneuver on your turn, and then you can get 2 advantage on your dice roll and totally earn it back within 1 or 2 things that you do. So don't worry about your strain getting depleted. In this game system, we're doing it as rules is written. We're starting at 0 on your character, and as you take damage or strain, the number goes up. So if I say take 5 wounds, underneath your strain and wounds, there's a box called soak. That's how much you ignore when you get hit with something. And basically, soak is a combination of the brawn characteristic, which is your physical toughness, and any armor you're wearing. Like if you're a Wookiee, it's ridiculous. So soak is important. So anytime I tell you have to take some strain or some wounds, unless you're suffering, which is a key word that they put in the rule sets. If you suffer, you take that damage. So like a grenade does 6 blast, you suffer 6 blast damage. You can't soak that blast damage. But if you're hit with the grenade itself, you can soak the main damage off the grenade, which is nice. So normally when I get your minis made, you'll have the first red circle will be the number of your wounds, the green circle will be your strain, and then the blue circle at the end will be your soak. So that way you can just look at your miniature and immediately see what the numbers are, and you can add or subtract wounds or strain right then and there on your miniature, so you don't have to go through your character sheet. Then the next important stat is defense. I know at least 2 of you, because of the gear you have some defense. There's 2 different types of defense. There's range defense when someone's shooting you, because they're jerks.
Okay.
And there's melee defense, which is when someone tries to shank you. I will ask during combat and stuff, what is your melee or your range defense? You'll notice the orange box is range and the blue is melee. Then you've got encumbrance. Don't really worry about that. It's like all RPGs. We pretty much ignore it unless you're being ridiculous about the stuff you're carrying. You're basically going to be based out of this ship, so you don't need to worry about carrying everything you own. By the way, I will totally tell our gambler, if you do wear everything you own, you will be exactly at your encumbrance.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
It just means you need to buy a backpack or utility kit to bleed off that extra stuff. And then anyone who has force powers will have a force rating. So the threshold number will tell you how much your force dice is. That's those white dice. So those you use for all of your force powers, it'll basically say roll and use so many light side or so many dark side. And depending on what you are, whether you're a light side wielder or a dark side wielder, it's good or bad. You can always use the opposite faction. You just take some strain and flip a destiny point over to my side to do that. And did you already finish your picture, Talia?
Yeah, I just did like a simple cell shaded.
Oh my god. Oh my god. And as David just showed, if you're in the cartoon chat bubble section where you're seeing the dice results, when you roll dice, you roll the good dice and the bad dice, and then you figure out what's left over. And in this case, thankfully, it'll actually give you the results. And something I like to do is leave the suggestions button on. So it gives you like, hey, you rolled 2 extra successes. How about you reduce the time by 10 to 20% for the thing you're doing? Advantage is, hey, grant a blue check when using the repaired item or even the superiority quality for a session, which the superiority quality is good because it gives a blue dice to any time you use that item. So it will do the math for you and make suggestions. When it comes to advantages and triumph, you can always ask each other if anybody has a cool suggestion. I always say, tell me first what you want to have happen, but if you want a suggestion, you can always ask the group. You can also, if I have a really cool idea, I will ask, hey, do you trust me? I've got a good idea, and I will not screw you over on the idea. I've seen in my life sometimes folks would be like, well, you can do this and I'll totally undermine you the next turn. I don't do that. The whole idea of triumph is something freaking awesome narratively happened by chance, and it's totally on your side. Unless something completely opposite happens, usually your triumph's going to be doing really good shit for you. So as you scroll down a little further underneath the stats, you'll see there's a tab called Character Info, which has got your character's background information and some information regarding what career you are. In Star Wars, you don't have a standard class like in D&D. You basically have a career tree that you buy into. For leveling purposes, you can always buy a different career. It just shows that you're spreading out your knowledge and your abilities to learn some new things. So when you look in your career, you'll totally see a breakdown of your character's name. And yes, I flipped your tab for you. How much cash you have, which some people have cash in there. Some people have more cash than others. The total experience is how much that has been burned already. And available experience will be at the end of every session. I'll say, you guys get 10, 15, 20, or maybe 25 if you do something amazing experience. And then you would put whatever experience you earn in the available XP. And then it's totally up to you how you want to burn that experience later on, whether it's buying new careers, cool talents in your career trees, extra powers if you have access to the Force, or points into skills so you become better at what you do. And then under that, it's got your careers listed. So if you have any careers, some of you have like 1 to 3 careers.
Okay, what tab am I looking at again? I got sidetracked.
It's okay. Well, you just pumped out amazing artwork in less than 10 minutes. I mean, so you're on the right one at the top, which is character sheet. If you scroll down past the wounds and strain and click on character info.
Okay. Well, so it's in the character info part. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's where you have your species, your credits, what your career is. Like some of you may just be a smuggler gambler. And then it's going to have your motivations. So like in the smuggler gambler's motivation, it is totally ambition and greed is the motivation.
This says, okay, it said green.
I had to fix that. And
I just saw you fixed it right when I was about to tell you.
And then in Edge of Empire has a great mechanic that I love, which is the obligation mechanic, which is if you make a character from scratch, like when you look at the books, you'll see there's dozens of different types of obligations, but basically it's a background for your character. Like you could be addicted to gambling, or you could have a family obligation. So basically it's a number between 1 and 15. I don't think anybody's over 15 on that because it would be ridiculous. And that number goes on a magic percentile chart for me. And at the beginning of each session, I roll a D100. And if I hit anybody's number, because I start you guys up starting with Aurora and then everybody else, if it comes up your number, you automatically take 2 strain because your obligation is coming up. For some reason in this story, it's like with Han Solo, Jabba the Hutt's been calling him saying, "You owe me $2." So you've been stressing it. Because you're stressing it, you're stressing everyone else around you because you're being snippy. And everyone loses 1 strain. And somewhere in the session, that obligation will come out to the forefront. So like if it's, say, gambling addiction, guess what you're going to run into? It's either some kind of really cool gambling situation where you can go play that one-armed bandit, or somebody looks at you and says, "I bet you can't blank, blank, blank." Just to throw the temptation out there. If it's you're wanted because of a bounty, well, guess who just showed up knocking on your ship's door? One of the bounty hunters.
Dang it.
With a bounty puck saying, "I'm here to talk to so-and-so. I'm here to talk to the Wookiee about his extended ship warranty." And you also have, some of you have morality if you have the Force. Don't really worry about it unless you want to be like a paragon of Jedi, and I don't think anyone wants to be a paragon of the Jedi. So the next tab over on your character sheet to the right of character info is going to be the skills tab. That is going to be the page that you will be spending 95% of your time on. Because when I ask for you to roll a skill, you basically will scroll down and click the little D20 over to the right of your character sheet. And one nice way to know if you're good at something is the more dice you see, especially the more yellow dice, the better you are at doing stuff.
What about the green dice?
The green dice are basically equal to your characteristics, which are brawn, agility, intellect, cunning, willpower, and presence. And I totally won't sell out our gambler that she only has a willpower of 1.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
You're sneaky and gorgeous, but willpower. We know who doesn't make it back to the ship when they go out drinking. The first
It's
cheesy
me.
come online, and she goes back to their bunk.
Oh, sounds like her and the Rodion will be hanging out a lot.
Oh my god. I listened to that episode of Dungeons and Dread last week.
Oh, the succubus, the incubus one?
Yes.
The naughty, naughty halfling and the incubus.
Yeah, because my willpower is also 1.
So Aurora, most of this crew sound like they're very easy to convince into doing things.
I like it.
And
I mean, I do have a yellow in discipline.
And you may notice on the skills over to just before the dice, the D20 shape, there's a modifiers section. There may be some letters, which basically are dice. Like I can totally say for our gambler, deception, you remove 2 black dice on any roll against you. So it automatically will take out bad dice from your roll.
Okay.
That you don't even have to worry about.
I rolled just for test a deception roll.
Uh-huh.
So explain to me what I rolled.
So what you rolled, because on that deception I had no difficulty dice in there. I did have a force dice, which is why you're seeing the white dice. You can totally ignore that white dice. But what you just rolled is like the second best roll you can do in the game. You rolled 4 successes, which is the starbursts, the little pow-pows as I call them. Those are successes. So whenever you do something, you always want at least 1. Because that means you succeeded at what you're doing. If you get more, just like it suggests, extend the duration of deceit action. So basically it means, yes, you lied to the guy right now, but he will actually be believing you for the rest of the week. So the next time you see him, the lie is still in play. So the lightsaber circle symbols are basically the triumphs. Those are the equivalents of a natural 20. and you roll
Double
2 of them.
triumph.
You only get those symbols on the yellow dice, which is why it's important to train in skills, because those are the only ones you can crit succeed on.
Okay.
So those mean something freaking awesome happens. Like they totally suggest they're fool the target into believing the character is trustworthy. Future deceit checks against target do not require opposed checks. So for one of those triumphs, this person totally bought your lie hook, line, and sinker forever. So that means that whatever you lied to them about, your cover is safe. This is one of those classic ones where the undercover cop's caught and the guy who vouches for him comes up with all the reasons why you're wrong. He's not a cop. I don't care that he's got a badge. And, you just saw him on TV on Cops. It's evil twin, imperial propaganda. So when you roll the dice, I will totally, since we're on the skills tab, I will totally put some difficulty dice in there. So I control the GM's dice pool. I'll get rid of that force dice. And a easy roll is 1 purple. A average roll is 2 purple, just to give you an idea of the threat size. Most things you're doing is going to be 2 purple, unless it's hard, which is 3 purple.
That looks gray on my screen. Am I going colorblind?
Look at the triangle shapes and not the pictures.
Okay.
And if, just like you guys have the gold dice, I can upgrade the difficulty of things, and certain bad guys have like free upgrades because they have the equivalent of your skill and things, which gives me the red dice.
If you look up, I got a despair.
Oh, okay. That's perfect. So if you look
I
up
rolled
at
one
the
for you.
mechanics roll there, he's got a star, which is a success. The little rebel laurel leaf symbol is an advantage, so that means something good happens. You can have something good but no success happen, which is why I love the narrative dice. It's not just success or fail. It's success, fail, advantage, threat, despair, triumph. So you see that ugly upside down triangle with the circle? That's the equivalent of a natural 1. So with his mechanics roll there, he succeeded. Mechanics went great. If he was fixing something, it is now working. He rolled an advantage, which means, hey, maybe he made that thing superior for the rest of the session. But unfortunately, the despair means something very bad is going to happen unrelated to this successful repair. Like, they point out in the suggestions there's of cause further harm to the target object or system. I probably wouldn't go with that because he just fixed it, or cause other components of the target to malfunction. So if he was fixing the ship, all of a sudden it would be one of those where he fixed the engines or fixed the shields. Great. And then I roll randomly in a part of the ship and that ship part blows. The capacitor blows out because he bypassed the safety valve to fix part A. Something else breaks. Or it could just be more bad guys show up. Or because he did that, he caused a hyperdrive static screen to happen. So when you try to jump to hyperspace, it's going to upgrade the difficulty to that jump because it's causing feedback to the hypernav computer. Basically it means something narratively funky is going to happen. And if you look at my dice roll at the bottom, the latest one I did, so the upside down triangles that are just triangles are failures. So you know what the symbols look like. So those and the starburst successes negate each other. Then you've got the TIE Fighter window or the Imperial Death Star window shape. Those are threats. Those are the opposite of the laurel leaf. Opposite of advantage. So when you roll, you basically take the good stuff, the bad stuff, math everything out, and thankfully here you get the instant results without having to math anything out, but it'll totally give you the breakdown. And then that's what happens, and we basically describe, we know what you tried to do, here's how it actually played out. And I just like it because it's better than just a D20 giving us a yes or no answer. It's always yes and or no but and no yes.
Yep.
So that's your skills. You're going to be spending a lot of time using those. These skills pretty much cover everything you'd need. The few that get people confused is you have athletics and coordination. Basically, athletics is your strength, coordination is your agility and acrobatics. You can pretty much use either or for a lot of situations. Like if you fall off a ledge, do not fall off a ledge. It's easy to die in this game if you fall off a ledge. But if
Because
you
we're in
do,
space.
you can use your coordination or your athletics to stop yourself from taking damage. But don't be like Luke Skywalker falling in Cloud City because that sucks. So you
Yeah.
have astrogation, which is your navigation. Anytime you're in space, you need to get out of a planet's gravity well or a basically gravity well in space. They do exist. And then you would roll your astrogation and make your jump. The more updated your astronavigation computer is, helps you. Like if you just paid 50 credits to get it updated with the latest stuff, you get a blue dice to help boost you for the next like 1d4 jumps. If your stuff's outdated, you get a black setback dice because you're dealing with Clone Wars era stuff and Empire Strikes Back era. You don't really ever want to botch an astrogation roll because an interesting story thread will happen.
We don't want that.
Normally, I totally love doing astrogation checks before the session ends for the night, but since we're being episodic in this campaign, I am not going to do that because I love when something bad comes up and we're like, we'll find out next week. So just remember, you want someone who's good in astrogation, and that's going to be the person who plots your course each time you get out of, gravity wells to take your trip. There are some locations you can just flat out pay for someone else to give you the coordinates. Usually it's like 200 to 500 credits. There's totally InfoChints that will sell you that kind of stuff.
Holy cow.
Oof, that was a bad roll. What did you just roll there? You're rolling all those.
Well, I succeeded.
Oh, you got good astrogation.
I do.
Guess what? The brainy Rhodian's going to be doing your plotting of your courses, but this is great. See, here's a great example of he plotted the course, and because of it, he succeeded so well, it reduces the time spent calculating. So instead of like the full 2 rounds to calculate it, he's doing it in 1 round. And on top of that, he reduced the travel time because he found a shortcut with his advantage. But then, of course, there's the despair, which comes down to triggers something truly awful happening, such as jumping out of
I give a
hyperspace in
whole
the
lot of
path of an
options.
asteroid. That's a great one because now it makes, because of his bad calculations, the pilot's going to have a shit show when they pop out. Because you're basically popping out in the middle of a smoking meteorite or something. Or greatly decreases the accuracy if you were wanting to be sneaky and pop as close to the planet as possible so you could dip into the planet. Now you're way past its 12th moon and everybody and their brother can see you just popped out of hyperspace. Things like that are what the threat would be used for.
So on that one, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So with the roll that he just did, he has reduced travel time and greatly increased travel time. Does that mean they cancel each other out?
Well, those are all
No.
suggestions. So normally when he would roll a roll like that, that's interesting, as I'd say, okay, David, so how are you spending your extra successes and advantages? And I'll let him pick before I pick the bad one. So if he picks reducing travel time, I'm not going to dick him over and do the negative of that. I'm going to pick
Right.
something
Okay.
else.
So you'll
gotcha.
spend the success and advantage first. Then he'll implement the rest of the bad dice or that may be
Okay.
involved.
So they're not all. It's
all
Well,
happening
the
at once.
exception. It's yeah. Now the exception is, and he'll still let you choose what. So if we had a triumph here, they don't cancel each other out.
They
So
both
I would have something grandiose happen with the triumph,
Mm-hmm.
but the despair would still occur.
And usually
Okay.
I'll throw it out
So-
there because I want you to tell me what you're using your triumph and advantages for first. There are ways from a metagame point of view that you could say take 3 advantages and say, and we don't take damage from whatever happens. And I'm like, okay, you pop out in front of the meteorite, you better pilot, but if you do scrape, you're not going to take damage. So I will give you the first option to come up with what you want good to happen before I hose you with the bad thing. And I won't override your choice. So if you choose one thing, I'm not going to immediately like poo-poo your idea because that's just crappy that you're spending the economy and then I'm just
Right.
poo-pooing it in the same roll.
So we got.
So how?
We could have our
Okay.
success. We get in, we land in behind the moon like we want. It all looked pretty, but because we had a spare, there just happened to be a fleet of TIE fighters sitting on the backside of the moon too, and that were doing training ops. Oops.
Or worse,
We
since your
didn't.
cargo guys.
We didn't know that happened.
Yeah, you didn't know it, but there's a pirate ambush waiting for the first space trucker to come driving by.
Yeah. So,
Because they've seen a
you know,
lot of you truckers using the same exit point, so they're just like, we're going to steal the first thing we see.
yeah,
I mean, it's
so-
not horribly bad. It just means something interesting is going to happen. Never be afraid of it.
Interesting.
Embrace it.
Well, so
Interesting.
despair is a dramatic word. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I pressed the same button that David did, and my thing looks completely different. Is that like a successful roll then, since there's
So,
no
for yours,
damn it,
it
despair?
is not successful. So you need the bullet, the shoot pow pow. That's
Mhm.
success.
The start. Yeah.
You did roll a couple because the dice you see show you what you rolled, but you rolled 2 successes and 2 failures, so they negated each other out. So on your astrogation, you plotted a course. You thought it was a great course. You hit the dial on the dashboard and went to hyperspace. Unfortunately, there's totally a couple tables for rolling when this happens that you missed your calculation. You didn't carry over the decimal point. However, something advantageous will happen because what you did roll there was 1 advantage. And of course, they
Okay.
give you some suggestions like you failed, but you reduced the travel time. Basically, what it means is you got there quicker. So if this was
Okay.
you
We
had
got to the wrong
time-sensitive
spot quicker,
cargo,
but hey.
you got to the wrong place, but you got there faster than expected, so you can hopefully correct course and get your way in the right direction without losing too much time. Like if you had perishables, that could totally be a thing, because that'll totally affect your payout if you're late. Or identify convenient skipovers to resupply or conduct additional business. You pop out and there's totally this diner who's looking to buy the cargo you've got to sell. So instead of going where you wanted to go, you went to somewhere else that are paying better. So there's always interesting twists that you can use. I mean, you could be showing up
Okay.
with air supplies and you ended up accidentally stopping in an asteroid belt's gravity well. There was no failure or threat, so it's not going to be catastrophic when you get where you're going. But with the advantage, there could be a client that you didn't even know you knew about here that will totally say, since you're going this way, can you take some passengers with you? And they'll throw some
Gotcha.
credits at you to get on board.
So the smaller the dice roll box, the less good I did.
Yes. So like if you're looking at say your character sheet, let me pop back over there and see if there's anyone specific. You don't anyone that has 1, which you don't have 1 in anything, is something you are below average. So like difficulty wise, an easy thing is 1 purple. Ooh.
Wow.
So basically the difficulty you just went against was basically a force ghost of the dark side trying to scare the pee-pee out of you. And it successfully scared the pee-pee out of you with the failure, which means you now have a bunch of black dice on you. And if you had 3 threat, which you only have 1, it would have made you like run out of the scene and be gone. But because you have a despair, I would totally say
I
that
pooped my
anytime
pants.
this force ghost does something, I'm upgrading the difficulty against you. So this thing like so unnerved you, you've got force ghost PTSD.
And you just poop yourself a little bit each time.
Just a little bit. So as we go through the skills,
Yeah.
you've got charm is your usual D&D persuasion. We have coercion, which is sort of like charm, but coercion is the I'm telling you what to do. It's the mom voice. You're
You're
basically leadershiping or telling someone they're going to do it or else. That's coercion.
you're a gorilla bumping your chest,
I don't
kinda.
think I have enough yellow dice for that one. I don't think you scored me correctly there.
Yeah.
She's
You're
going to
looming
totally
and
use the
leering at
power of
them.
the rule of cool. Then you've got computers, which is slicing. In Star Wars, computers are deadly because unlike Battlestar Galactica, computers connect everything. R2-D2 taught us that. You've got cool, which is basically the ability to maintain yourself in dangerous situations. It's also used as one of the two initiatives. When you roll an initiative, you either roll cool if you know it's coming, like an ambush that you guys set up, or you're goading somebody to pull their weapons so that way you can Han Solo that shit and shoot them first. And vigilance is you're ever vigilant. You're always ready for an ambush. So when we roll
Or
initiative, it's
not.
going to be a naked roll, just like David did, where it's just your skill, no difficulty. And then the initiative ranks by how many successes, how many advantages, and tiebreakers are done by triumphs. Unless you have some cool talent that lets Triumph do something awesome, which Star Wars really didn't actually ever come out with any of those. But in the other Genesis games, they totally did to make up for that. And you've got deception, which is your typical lying. You've got discipline, which is not losing your shit into fierce situations, or if you basically want to resist someone's manipulation, discipline is usually used as basically like a will save, like from D&D. So if someone's using deception, it's usually discipline that's going against it, or coercion, it's always discipline that goes against it. Because coercion is browbeating someone into doing it, and discipline is saying nope. Then we've got leadership, which is good for, there's a lot of talents and different careers that basically Princess Leia people. And they get to use their cool ability to give other people bonuses and make them do things. Like in our Tuesday game, we've got Tozen, one of our characters. He's a commander. And he can basically roll leadership and then give people like free maneuvers and blue dice and stacks up blue dice at the beginning of the game, which are bonus dice. They basically have a 60% chance of giving you something good or just blank. They always help. You've got mechanics, which is pretty much anything crafting wise. They mash it into all just one topic of mechanics. You're going to be seeing your Rodian friend. They're probably doing a lot of that for modifying stuff. If you've ever played the old Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars games, this one is just like those with all the cool weapon mods. Then you've got negotiation. That's the flat out sitting across the table and negotiating somebody into something. It's also used for if you're looking to find ill-gotten goods in the market, you can negotiate to find those goods because sometimes it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, or 4 purple if they're at the market. And basically that just gives us a generic dice roll of is it available or not. Perception is your typical do you see something? You've got sometimes I will ask for a perception without you actually rolling as a skill, or other times I'll ask you what is your perception because I'm rolling a stealth and I'm using your dice as the negative dice. So I'm turning your greens into purples and your yellows into reds against someone sneaking around you, and then I'll just say never mind when you ask what my dice roll was just about, and I succeed.
Yeah, perception's like sight, sound, smell.
Yep.
Those physical things.
And then we've got piloting, which is in only two categories, which is kind of nice because in other games they split an extra third one there. But you have planetary vehicles and space vehicles. So your Jetson car, that's planetary. Your spaceship, that's a space. So you have resilience, which is basically a fortitude save or a constitution save, depending on which RPG we're talking about. Resilience is how well you can physically take something. Usually if you're poisoned or suffocating or under a huge amount of strain, I'll call for a resilience check. And everybody uses it as their dump stat. I'm going to totally throw it out there for you. Not a lot of careers start with resilience as an actual career skill. And speaking of career skills, you'll see in your skills little check boxes that have been checked. Those are skills that are your career. The reason why they're checked is when you get experience, career skills are cheaper to buy. When we get to leveling up, I'll totally give you the little chart that shows you that. If you've ever played any Vampire the Masquerade games, you totally understand the leveling up system. Then we've got Skullduggery, which is your pickpocket, your picklocks, basically your little thievy stuff. Are you going to holster your weapon or unholster your weapon without anyone noticing? That would totally be Han Solo's Skullduggery his blaster onto his lap before Greedo even sat down. Then you've got Stealth, which is your typical sneaky. Then you have Streetwise, which is basically knowing the street, identifying certain characters in certain places on the street, gang affiliations from colors or symbols, seeing the street tagging and know exactly whose neighborhood you're actually in. And then you've got Survival, which is anything camping, skinning, or finding supplies in the woods kind of thing. We're in Star Wars, so that's never going to come into play, right?
Okay.
And
Tell
then
that
you
to
have
the people who are eaten by the Ewoks.
Nub nub. Hey, if you ever played Battlefront 2, you loved the Ewok minigame where you play either stormtroopers trapped on Endor or Ewoks hunting the stormtroopers in the dark. You can see them, but they can't see you. Then Vigilance, which is basically your ability to stay alert and aware. Sometimes I'll just like, hey, what's your Vigilance? Just like Perception to see if you notice somebody sneaking up on you or somebody skullduggery in your pocket. That's that. You walk down the street, someone bounces off of you, and you didn't check your pocket because you failed the vigilance check.
Your
Then
gut instinct.
Yep. Then you've got lightsaber. Depending on what kind of Jedi you are, the reason why there's a drop down that says Brawn is different Jedi can use different stats for their combat with the lightsaber. Some use cunning, some use presence. There's literally a form of lightsaber for every one of your characteristics. So if you ever make like full-blown Jedi for an all Jedi or an all Sith game, you totally want your characteristic that's max to be the one that's using the lightsaber style you use. Brawl is basically fighting with your hands, feet, brass knuckles, gauntlets, that kind of gear. You've got gunnery, which is the big serviced weapons, like the 50 caliber style cannons. Any gun on a ship is a gunnery. Then you've got melee, which is pretty much all melee weapons, all put into one bucket. Different settings for Genesis will break it down into light weapons and heavy weapons for your dagger and your axe, so that way there's some difference. But here, the big one, it breaks down your ranged weapons into light and heavy. So pretty much all of your hand grenades and hand blasters are all range light, and all your rifles and your shotguns are ranged heavy. And there's even some small explosive weapons that are just ranged heavy and not quite gunnery, but your rocket launchers are totally gunnery. Then you've got your knowledge skills, because you never know when you might know something. Core worlds is the center worlds of the core where all the civilized folks stay. Education is something that you might know because it was taught in school. Lore is totally used for, hey, Jedi lore says this. And then you have Outer Rim, which tells you about the basically the Badlands of space. Underworld, which is all about the nefarious type. So that'll tell you who the crime boss is. Streetwise will tell you who's in charge. Underworld will tell you who is the guy who's in charge. Or you could do Underworld to know what names to drop in a situation.
Okay.
Like, say our sneaky gambler is looking over at our sneaky smuggler who knows Underworld and says, what's that guy's name we're doing this job for? And because they know these mooks aren't going to mess with the Black Sun, you roll your Underworld and succeed, and I totally tell you who the underboss is on this planet that reports to Shizor in the Black Sun. And you just name drop, and these guys are like, huh, okay. Tell you. So would your gambler like an upgrade on deception because you name dropped the guy they know that's in charge of this planet? And
Yay.
basically, it's a good way of using your skills to bounce off each other for bonuses. Then we have xenology, which is basically knowledge of alien life forms, because it could be used in place of medicine, or it could be used for medicine for creatures. Veterinarian skill, basically. And then warfare is one of the skills that got introduced later on for doing mass combat stuff or knowing about certain things. Like you could totally say, can I roll a warfare check to see if I know this Sith Imperial destroyer's weak spot? And I'll be like, roll, and you succeed. And I'll be like, before they go to light speed, they always empty the trash compactor. If you were to hide in Genesis in your ship just at the right time, you could fall away with the garbage. And he totally pulled what Han Solo did in Edge of Empire, because he totally used the warfare or lore knowledge skill of the Empire's procedures to get away. There's also the custom skills tab, which you can add skills and basically do the math, mechanically. Then the second tab you'll be spending the most time on besides skill is the combat tab.
I was gonna say.
Go ahead and hit combat tab.
Let's see.
Some of you have your stuff already entered in there because I'm a nice guy and I spent all your money and stuff. So the first thing you're going to see is every time I say roll initiative, these are the buttons you would hit for initiative, because it ignores
the other.
any purple or red dice I've put into the pool. It will just roll your skills. So if you click the little D20 at the end, it will pop up cool if you're prepared, or vigilance if it's unexpected. And then we basically have a little timer that looks sort of like the initiative window in D&D.
Yeah.
And
it'll put it there where if you do the other, it won't add it to that.
Yeah, I'll have to
Initiative.
add it in manually and crazy things will happen. And then I will totally hit the sort button, which will tell us a PC goes first, then a PC goes first, then another PC goes first. One thing that's different from D&D with Star Wars is it's what a lot of people call popcorn order, where the initiative is not a person's slot, but one of the sides. So it's either one of my NPCs or your PC's turn, and you guys get to pick who goes first. So it gets rid of a lot of the problems that other games do, where it's like I gotta hold my action because I'm waiting for the thing to happen. Instead, you can let somebody else go first and let maybe a bad guy take a turn to get into range of fire, and then that person can say, shoot. So you guys get to pick who goes in what order. Usually I always say just be cool. And if you got a really cool thing to do, totally say, hey guys, I got a really cool thing to do. Can I go first? Because it's up to you guys the order, which is I think is really nice because it lets you guys set up slam dunk moves where you can do the whole volleyball setup to just slam dunk somebody. Especially if everybody attacks somebody, and if they can't beat its armor, they weaken it or give it bad dice or give good dice to your friends. And that way the person who can hurt the person gets all this extra fat bonus for damage. So under initiative, you have weapons. Everybody's got some kind of weapon in there. Like I can totally say Aurora has a blaster pistol. And Isma has variable holdout blasters. Now, Isma, something unique for you is you'll notice you have two blasters. The first one is your variable holdout blaster. The second one is paired holdout blasters. So you can whip out two of these little guys.
Oh.
One thing I couldn't put in your character sheet, because you'll notice on your weapons it says limited ammo 12. Normally that's where you would put extra stuff. Like if you look at David's roll and his gun, it says quality stun setting and superior, which by the way, you might want to put that blue dice for superior in there.
Is it blue dice or the advantage? Because when I looked online, it said advantage.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like extra damage, so it's actually probably a 6 damage weapon, but with superior, it's got 7, and then it's an advantage, which for that weapon is good because it's only a 2 crit.
And Talia, you'll notice when you click the holdout pistol paired, there's an extra purple dice. Whenever you dual wield weapons, there's an extra purple dice as you use both guns. And the idea is you want to get 2 advantage and, of course, success. Because if you get 2 advantage, your second weapon hits the same target or somebody within short range of him.
Okay.
So that's when you pull that gangster shit and you go blah, blah, point blank.
Blah, blah.
That's a little harder because you're wielding 2.
Yeah. So you're if you succeed, the first one plow hits, but you need 2 advantages for the second one to hit, because as all real Western gun shows will tell us, shooting 2 pistols at a 45-degree arc of each other sucks. Our eyes and brains are not meant to keep held on the target long enough to get a good accurate shot. One thing with your pistols is you notice it says limited ammo 12. If you flip to your inventory page, variable holdout blaster pistols actually have dials that you set the potency to them.
Huh.
If
Okay.
you look in that description there, I'll totally blow up that
Yeah,
window
it
so you can
says
see it.
variable holdout blaster under tools.
Yep,
Is that
and it's the
okay?
second sentence there.
Restricted? Or wait.
No, the
Hmm.
wielder.
On the description?
Yeah,
Anyone beyond searching an individual carrying because add to their
that's a
perception check.
setback die. Yep, so it's a black
Okay.
die to find the
They
pistols
must
on you.
choose this power setting between 1 and 7. This is the amount of damage a successful shot will inflict and is also the amount of ammo expended.
So basically, the guns have a little set your phasers to stun deal where you crank it up to max damage, which is 7, which is crazy high for a pistol, which is why you can run out of ammo real quick. Because it's really only good for like one heavy shot and one medium shot. So that's just something on your weapon just to know that you can crank up the damage or crank down the damage. So if you want to just do
Okay.
3 points of damage, which by the way, remember, everybody's got soak. If you do only 1 point of damage, odds are you're just scuffing their armor or burning their skin with a little welt, not actually hurting them.
hmm
I would never do less than 3 damage unless you're trying to make a message. If you're trying to make a message, setting it to 2 and shooting both their kneecaps at once would totally send a message.
So damage would be 7 for the one I just rolled, plus each success.
Yep. So if you look at David's roll with his equalizer blaster, every success is an extra point of damage. So you want extra successes when you shoot someone because it gives you more damage. Because normally his weapon does 7 plus 2 for the 2 successes, and you always need at least 1 success to hit. Because if you had no successes, you shot over their shoulder. Where it says crit and then it gives you a number, like for your holdout pistols, it's crit 4 because they're not very lethal. His equalizer blaster has a crit 2, which means that sucker crits real easy. And by crit, it does excruciating wounds. And usually in this game, crits are the way that you kill things as opposed to dropping them to 0. NPCs, if you go to 0, they're pretty much gone. But for a player character, if you get dropped to 0, you're just unconscious and you roll a crit and your friends can slap you awake later. But if you roll a crit on yourself and you roll over 150, you're dead. It is super rare to ever see that happen. I have seen it happen twice. Wow, there you go, rolling a 93 for the crit. And there are some crits that really suck, like roll that dice pool again and hit the target one more time. And basically, you double tap a target, and usually that will end most people if they get hit with that one.
Which is really good when it happens and you're doing it against somebody, but not when it's coming at you.
So let's go back to the weapon, to the combat tab. So you have your weapons. Different weapons do different qualities. Like if you have anything that has breach, that means it ignores 10 soak. It's basically a weapon meant to breach a vehicle. If it has pierce, it means it ignores that many number of soaks. So like some of the stabby weapons have pierce 1 to 3, so it ignores the first 3 points of armor. And that's usually because it's like a needle gun or a vibro knife or a vibro axe. You know, it's meant to chew through armor and just ignore it. So at the end of your weapons, I basically gave everybody unarmed as well, because you never know in this type of game where it's going to be kind of talky if you elbow, knee, or kick or punch somebody. You can do unarmed combat with one hand or two hand. You can totally dual wield with your fist. It just means you give them the left and the right. Then under that, if you have it, I don't think anybody does, combat skills. There's extra skills that can do some cool tricks. But the important thing is the one under that is your talents and special abilities. So each career has a tree of cool talents that really define what your career is. Like it could be the rogue who's got a convincing demeanor. That basically anyone that looks at you with a scrutinizing eye, they just feel alleviated. They're not going to scrutinize you too much. Or a pilot who has an ability called Let's Ride that lets you either get into the cockpit as a freebie. You don't even have to use your move to. You just pop up and you're in the chair because you're that kind of pilot that can do the one-arm vault and slide into your chair because you've done it 100 times. Or that can
No, I'm doing the Riker sit.
the Riker. And you can also
That's
use it
hilarious.
like Han did in A New Hope when he helped Luke out and told him get up to the gun turret, and immediately Han was in the turret with his headset on ready to shoot. He immediately like went yoink right to where he needed to go because he's got Let's Ride. Or Full Throttle, which lets you basically take a vehicle faster than it should go. If you're a pilot, that's a really good ability. Also, if you're any kind of combat person, there's a really cool talent called Quick Draw. Normally, to pull your gun from the holster, it's your move. And then you can take your action to shoot. If you have Quick Draw, it just appears in your hand. And you can use your move and your shoot at the same time. So Quick Draw is nice for anybody who wants to do things really quick. Basically, anyone with a melee weapon or a pistol that has Quick Draw are usually pretty quick to be the first ones to do stuff. Then, if you have it, underneath these talents, you'll have force powers. And it'll basically give you the name and a basic description of what the power does. Like influence, that you wave your hand and say, these are not the droids you're looking for. Or force move, which lets you move a Pepsi can out of the ice. I love it when the Pepsi can is now cold.
Ooh.
And then if you go back up to the red tabs, the next one is your item inventory, which I think everybody's kind of peeked at.
No.
Maybe no. Oh,
I haven't looked at it at all.
The first thing you're going to see is what kind of armor you're wearing. Everybody, I try to mix it up so everybody has different stuff. Like some of you may have armored clothing that actually looks like clothing, but if someone investigates it and gives like an average perception check, they can see you're wearing light armor. Or smuggler's trench coat that lets you hide items in your coat. I mean,
speaking of which, I'm redrawing my character again.
Uh-oh.
And
Just
then
like you.
under that, you'll see tools, which is usually a good place to put items with descriptions. Like if you had a weapon, like Talia's variable holdout blasters, I put the details of the blaster on the tools tab because you can't put it on the weapon stuff. So I always like to make sure you know all the things of your abilities. Like say you have some kind of kit that lets you disassemble and hide something. And then personal gear is going to be just here's extra stuff. Like one of you may have a holo messenger, which is basically that hockey puck looking disc that you put in your hand that lets you see a cool holo of your person you're talking to, instead of the little salt pepper shaker communicator. I mean, it's handy.
It's an iPhone.
But holo messenger lets you have a full hologram of somebody. And other people who had more money on them got some other cool stuff on their character sheets. And then the next red tab is the scary one you never want to go to, critical injuries. So when you pull up critical injuries, pretty much if I say I hit you with a crit, the only thing you have to worry about is hitting the red button, the big red button.
I'm gonna press it.
If I say hit it, but the weapon has say vicious 2, in the box above the red button, there's a little critical roll offset. You basically put 20 if it's vicious 2. So basically it's adding plus 20 to whatever you roll. When you roll a crit, I'm waiting for Talia to go over there and roll a crit for herself. Look at Aurora's getting all jacked up.
I'm scared.
So when you roll a crit, you'll see it gives you the name of the crit that you rolled, the percentage number. So like we saw for Aurora, she got the discouraging wound. So the only thing that happens is you have to flip a light destiny to dark side for me. So you got hit and everyone gasped, and because of that, you lost a light side point to the dark side. Don't worry, when it comes to using those points, we want to keep using them back and forth, because if they just stagnate, you're losing a lot of fun of the game, because the numbers should always be going back and forth between light and dark. That's just a mechanic that's how it's supposed to work. Talia, on the other hand, rolled Stinger, increased the difficulty of the next check by 1 difficulty die. So basically, she got hit in a nerve cluster, like her funny bone, and she's trying to do a thing, and she's like, I can't count these cards because I hit my funny bone on the poker table. Whose chance cube was that under my elbow? Oh wait, that's mine. So when you see the crits, you'll see it shows a purple dice, which you all rolled just 1 purple. So that's how many purple dice a medic is going to have to roll against to heal. So one thing you're noticing is there's also a little thing that says effect on off. If it's something that only does the next check, you need to make sure after you take that disadvantage on that roll, you click the effect off, because it's automatically putting it on your character sheet for you. So, like for Talia, she's increasing the difficulty of her next dice check. Once she makes that roll, which she would totally say, can I take a moment to do cool to catch my breath? I'm like, sure, way to add the bad dice to a useless dice roll. And then she burns it and she can click off to the effect. Once a doc comes up to you and rolls against the purple dice and succeeds, just needs 1 success, you guys get to click the heal button and they go away. One thing that you may have noticed is the more crits you get, each crit adds 10 to the next roll that happens. So if you get like 4 or 5 crits, you could be in some serious danger. And there are some vicious crits out there, like every time you take an action, take 1 strain. And you basically, it symbolizes that you're bleeding out as you're doing things. You know, you grunt
like,
and
don't let me die. Don't let me die.
Now, of course, in Star Wars, there's lots of ways to not die, because, of course, in the critical injury tab is a good time to talk about healing. You can have someone go out and do the medicine check, which is just rolling medicine. The healthier you are, the easier the roll is. So try not to get at death's door and say medic or corpsman, depending on your branch. When you get to almost half is the best time to say, somebody check me out here. And you can do stim, which is a quick way of healing yourself like a healing potion. Using the stim, though, it has diminishing returns. So the first one you use, you'll get 5 wounds back. And as you can see, most of you guys have the low teens, so 5 is a pretty good, juicy number. The second time you do a stim, you only get 4 back. And then for the rest of the day, any other stims you use will only give you 3 back, because you can only force your body to heal quick so much. And when it comes to crits, you can only heal 1 crit per week. So if you get a bunch of crits stacked on you, expect to carry those around for a while. And remember how I said earlier with strain, you can actually earn strain back? On some of those dice rolls, you saw that you rolled the advantage, which is the little laurel leaf symbol. You can literally turn those in 1 for 1 to get strain back. So if you roll 5 of them, you could say, I'm getting 5 strain back. And it basically means during that action, you were calm, you were cool, you were collective, and you even stuck your tongue out and bit down softly, which is your stress release. And all of a sudden, you feel better after getting that taken care of. And of course, there's the notes tab, which just lets you add extra things, like if you have, any allies, any enemies. If you want to write a note down that only you can see, because if you write it down on the bio tab, everybody can technically see it. So if you want to keep secret things like, I stole such and such from my teammate and blamed it on the street rats. Or worse, I stole it and I paid the street rat to put a note in your pocket saying, I have what you're looking for. And then you're like, dude, I totally saw that street rat, put that in your pocket after you picked it up at. And again, we've got the group sheet if you want to keep in the very tippy top. all the way at the top, you got your vehicle sheet, which if you had individual vehicles, like we've done games where you guys are fighter pilots and everybody has their own vehicle to keep track of. You've got the group sheet, which basically gives you info on the group. You've got a companion sheet if there's a NPC companion working for you, like say you have a pet droid that's not R2D2 player character class, but is there and is helpful because he can help. You can totally
Is it
have your
more like
companion help you do stuff.
when I'm seeing all the memes about like humans in space where they've taken basically a Roomba and put a knife on it?
That would totally be a companion. It might cut you, it might kill you, but it probably won't do more than a scratch. You know, you take a mouse droid and tape a bunch of vibro knives to it. Which is now mouse droid for mouse droid is murder.
Got the heck out of your ankles, man.
I
Especially if
don't
you use the
have a
Mandalorian.
companion, Jim.
You do have a companion, but I haven't put it on the character sheet yet because I was going to make 2 versions of your companion. One
Ooh,
that's
I like it.
your droid sidekick, and the other that is the droid if someone wants to play the droid and make the droid even better.
Gotcha.
But yes, our captain totally has a pet droid.
I shall
But
name him Bob.
She might retire Bob from doing astrogation after seeing your mechanics, check. You'd be like, we're going to set up a station for you in engineering that you can do the hyperspace calculations back there.
This sheet is so much more complicated than I was expecting.
It is
And I should have known that when you sent me 12 pages.
It will
Well,
get really simple.
Not everybody's character sheet looks as complicated as yours. Usually they're like 5 pages, and 3 of those aren't even used. On Ogdudes, it's like the front page and the back page are the only things you actually use. Trust me, when I print pre-gens for one-shot games and stuff, it's just page 1 and 5 that get printed. Everything else they don't really need. Because then I'll print the talent trees with the words in it as opposed to just see page so-and-so. Which you'll notice in the combat tab for your talents, most of your talents have been put in there telling you what they do. Most. There's a couple of them I have not copied over because the PDFs are not copy paste. I have to actually go in there manually.
I noticed with some of my sheets that you sent me, some said see page blah blah blah, and some gave me answers.
Yeah, it depends on what was in Ogdudes and what wasn't in Ogdudes. Basically, when the gentleman who made Ogdude's character generator, he basically did as much as he could without getting a cease and desist.
Oh man!
But
so
people on the backside made files that people loaded.
Well, there's
so
space
he doesn't know anything about that. So, yes.
And of course, there's the option to manually type stuff in Ogdudes. And people have basically done that and then shared that file, so it's done for everybody. But I, of course, don't do that one because since I do a lot of pulling up on camera my character sheets, I prefer to keep Ogdude in the safe place that he is because he makes a cool thing. And I totally print up the PDF of the talent trees and then check them with colored markers for players so you can clearly see you have these things. Because if you don't remind them, they will totally forget they have these cool things. And don't worry about the tab at the top that says NPC sheet. That's for my guys because it's basically an abbreviated character sheet where everything's on one page. I see you clicking on that.
I wrote you a note and you didn't respond, so I thought I was safe.
Yeah, the
You're
two
never
tabs.
safe.
Yeah,
You're
the 2
never
tabs
safe.
you'll spend most of your time on will be skills tab and the combat tab, looking at like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm adding this. I'm using this talent to do whatever it does.
I'm using
I
this
lost
weapon.
the tab that I wrote you the note, Jim.
Was it on the note tab?
Yeah, so, I don't see it right now.
Click character sheet at the very top because you're on the companion sheet. There you go. Now click
there
notes.
It is.
There you go. That's where you get to it.
See, I wrote you a note and you didn't snort or respond or anything.
Well, maybe I was trying to lure you into a false sense of security.
You totally did.
And in the lobby, if you go into the book on the journal page where the character sheets are, you'll notice player characters have their own little drop-down box, so that way I can hide you guys, because we're totally using a lobby that I've used before, and I just hit those characters. But if you look underneath, oh, I just noticed y'all can't see that. You will quickly be seeing a lot of PDFs popping up, which if it says spending advantage threat in something something something, it basically is a cheat sheet that has ways that you can use your advantage, or I can use threat in certain situations that make it even more flavorful.
Mm.
And gives you different options. Like if you look at the heist and break-ins, it basically they've written for players, hey, if you want to do a heist or break-in, here's a great way of structuring it, so you're not just a bunch of players running around at random doing stuff. You can actually plot in advance and do preparation. Like one of my favorite is the deception one, using the deception skill for other uses. And one of the best ones I love is Craft a Legend. A spy's mission can entirely depend on the character's legend, a cover identity that holds up to scrutiny. Basically, you can use a deception check, an average check, to build a persona or forge documentation. So that way it makes it easier for your lie, because you're like, I have documents. Here are my papers.
I have badges. I have the stinking badges.
Or practice a charming persona. The PC works on accents, facial expressions, hand gestures, and other means of enthralling individuals. This check requires at least an hour of practice. If it is successful, the character adds a blue boost dice to one charm or negotiation check during the session. So it basically means you're doing that whole actor bit in front of the mirror, practicing your lines. Or, being every GM ever with their big boss NPCs. And you'll definitely want to look at, I'm almost to it, the concealing and hiding weapons is always good for certain people. Sabacc rules, if someone wants to play cards, there's actually the game mechanics of how to do it. And the very important one is player action sheets. So this tells you what you can do. Everybody's used to D&D, right? You get an action, a maneuver, and then some incidentals.
I've never played D&D a day in my life.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So in Star Wars, you have an action, which basically is using an ability or something else, the usual I shoot, I detect, I perceive, whatnot. If you use a power that says it's an action to do, okay. So then you've got, that is your actions. Then you have your maneuvers. So maneuver can either be used for you to go from engaged to someone, which means you're fist to fist with them, to short distance, which means you're at basically pistol range, so you can go one range band per maneuver. So you can go from short distance to engage if you say have a sword, so that way you can get up and stab the guy. He can of course take two maneuvers because he's going to use his action to get away from you to run twice, so he's medium distance away from you. You can always spend an action to take a second maneuver. You can also spend 2 strain to take a second maneuver. Sometimes that can be really advantageous when it comes to aiming a weapon. You can spend 1 maneuver to aim before you shoot, which gives you blue dice, or you can take 2 strain and double aim, which adds 2 blues to your dice. You can choose to take an assist maneuver, so if somebody needs help and you still want to do your thing, you can assist them and still shoot. It's totally you pulling a screwdriver out of the utility belt to hand it to them while you're shooting some jerk away across the way. You can interact with the environment, so if it's more than just an automatic grocery store door and you actually have to hit the button to open it, it's a maneuver. Then you've got managing gear, which means if you're holstering a weapon, pulling a weapon out, pulling a data stick out, pulling out your laptop, that type of deal, that's a maneuver. And also using it to mount or dismount a vehicle, which if you're lucky and you have the Let's Ride ability, you don't need to waste a maneuver to get in the cockpit.
Woot woot.
It becomes what's called an incidental.
Yep, and incidentals are those itty-bitty little things that you can do a couple of that doesn't really count as a thing. And anytime you see incidental, feel free to do that as many times as you can. Like if you have quick draw, you can draw or holster one item or piece of gear as an incidental. So if you have two guns, be mindful you have to have 2 ranks of quick draw to pull them both out as a freebie. But then again, who really needs to pull 2 out if you're pulling 1 out and using it accurately? And
Shoot, 1 to threaten with.
There you go. One to light the cigarette. And at the bottom of that sheet, for the player action sheet, it's got the symbols of success, failure, advantage, threat, triumph, and despair. And it has the range band. So unlike D&D that says you can move 25 or 30 feet per turn, everybody can move a short distance, which is this very fluid, maybe 30, maybe 40 feet, maybe less. But you just say you're moving a short distance. You know, the only time I'll really give you specifics is be like, okay, it's going to require 2 short distances or 1 medium to get there, because it's just out of short distance of 1 short. And space combat's the same exact way. It's close, short, medium, or long. And most of your vehicles have stupidly short-ranged weapons, so it's literally like in Star Wars, the TIE fighters are right on top of the Millennium Falcon shooting. Nobody's doing this, real sci-fi expanse shooting each other from a mile away unless it's a capital ship. And those guys, your little ships, don't worry about those guys because they can barely hit tiny fly ships like yours. They can totally hit ships like yours. And
they won't make us go boom.
That's an important one that gets us to the next handout. Let me make sure you guys can see it, which is under many of the handouts I have open. The ground combat sheet. So this one is a really cool one that we got from another podcast group that basically gives you a really good rundown of ground combat.
I think I accidentally closed some things and now I'm not seeing what you're talking about.
You're going to have to go into the handout page and open it.
Handout page.
It's almost the last one. So if you go to the tab that has the little expandable dealio for handout.
Wait, I'm confused. I'm sorry. Because before, a whole bunch of things stacked up on my page.
Yep, every time I open something, y'all were seeing it. So on the journal tab, the one that looks like a little book.
Oh, journal. Okay, handouts. I see the handouts.
There you go.
Okay.
So it's second to last. It's the one called Ground Combat Sheet.
Okay, sorry about that.
So if you pull that one up, it basically gives you the cheat sheet of how to do combat. So determine initiative, cool if prepared, vigilance if not, assign the initiative slots, then participate, take turns. You get unlimited incidentals, you get 1 maneuver for free, you can suffer 2 to take a second maneuver. In combat, you can only take 2 maneuvers max. So there's no more than taking 2. Sometimes it's handy to just run away to get out of distance to somebody, especially if you get into a guy with a lightsaber and you're just like, nope. Run away!
Run away! Run away!
You take your action, and then after everybody does their stuff, we finish the encounter. Once an encounter is done, you can take basically the Star Wars version of a short rest. You basically say, are we out of the encounter? Because I need to get some strain back. And you take a discipline or cool check against no negative dice. And for every success you roll, you get 1 strain back when you're catching your breath. The hardest thing is going to be what's in the little green chart section there, which is the spending threats and advantages. Spending your advantages, I swear to you, will be the hardest thing to do in game because you'll get more advantages than successes. It's literally the math has more threats and advantage come up on the dice than success or failure.
Okay.
And of course, it also lists out here some other maneuvers you can take, which are kind of handy, like the drop prone. If you're prone, it's harder to be shot, but it's easier to hit you with a baseball bat. That's the exchange. So
Don't hit me with a baseball bat.
if you drop to a knee, it's harder for the rifleman to shoot you, but it's easier for the guy with the sword to hit you because you're kneeling down in front of him. And then we've got the space combat sheet, which is pretty much the same mechanics as the ground combat. It's just a little more complicated because the pilot is going to be piloting, so that means you're almost always going to be either speeding up or slowing down, taking evasive maneuvers, or staying on target, because that basically means you're lining up the shot for your gunner. And everyone else on the ship has got cool things you can do, so you're not just sitting around. You can help them by gaining the advantage. You can help plot a course through a field. You can co-pilot if you have piloting skills. You can boost the shields if you have mechanics. You can do damage control, which basically means you're going there and manually making things work. You can do manual repairs for anyone who's good with athletics, to actually go there and bend things back into shape. You can use fire discipline, which helps, keep people on target by using discipline or leadership to call out the shots. You can scan the enemy. If you're good with perception, you look and say, "That's no moon." You can, if you're good with computers, you can jam them so they can't send out a message. Remember when Han said, "Jam that TIE fighter, Chewie. Don't let him get a message out." The really bold one is you can try to slice the enemy ship and disable part of its systems. That's very nice. Oh, did I turn your lasers off? I'm so sorry. And then there's spoofing missiles if some jerk shoots long-range missiles at you. And when you have your ships, most ships, the shields are not on unless you spend a maneuver to turn your shields on. Your ship has one front and one rear deflector. You can, on someone's turn, do the boost the deflector shields by basically removing one from one side and adding it to the other side to boost the shields, which basically adds negative dice to people shooting you. When your ship gets shot, it's kind of like normal combat. If I shoot you, you soak some damage, then you take the leftover. If I shoot your ship, your shields give me negative black dice that make, failure more possible. And then your ship's armor is basically its soak. So the armor takes off the damage, and then it takes the leftover as either hull trauma, which is wounds, or system strain, which is strain. Either gets to the threshold. You don't want that to happen. If it's strain, it's fine. The ship just blows some gaskets and has the Star Trek moment where fire's coming out of control panels, and then you're dead in the water until you fix it. If your hull trauma is 0, you hopefully have an escape pod on your ship. Because at that point,
is there one on the ship?
There's totally one on the ship that can take the full crew complement.
Sweet.
So the ship actually has 4 shields. It's big enough.
Yeah, it's a brick.
It's got 1 on front and both sides, and 2 in the rear.
By the way,
I was looking for the escape pod.
Your ship is like 8 times tougher than a TIE fighter.
Nice.
But vehicle crits
now, there are
like regular crits.
Yeah, there are things that you can do to swap shield power around and stuff like that, and enhance and stuff. So
yeah, there are tricks, so that way during ship combat, it's not just the gunner and the pilot doing things. Everybody can find something to do during combat. I mean, it could totally be as easy as your Princess Leia getting to the dashboard of the Falcon, pointing out the obvious. But because you're doing that, you're using either perception or leadership, giving them a boost to their next action. And every boost helps. It really does. Some of them little blue dice can make the difference between victory and defeat.
Or they mock you.
Or they come up totally blank and you're just like, son of a bitch.
Why?
Why do you mock me?
4K.
So that pretty much covers the gist of it.
It's all really easy as you go.
Yeah, it's the mechanic is super easy, especially on the Roll20s dice roller, because it gives you the results. In game, you'd basically have to take your dice and pair them off. That's always how I tell people to do it. The easier way is visually look at the symbols and here's my failures, here's my successes, pair them off, here's what's left over. And it's basically, this is one of the games that gives players the most player agency, where you get to describe what good stuff happens. You may have failed, but some good stuff happens and you get to come up with it to either help yourself or help your team. You can always just go, 2 advantage, I give a blue to so-and-so. Or 1 blue, 1 advantage, I give a blue dice to the next one of us to go because I'm awesome. But you could always use it up more exciting than that. And you can always do things like, when it comes to the NPCs, there's 3 tiers of bad guys. There's your minions, which are kind of like in 4th edition D&D. They fight as a cluster. So you'll see them normally as a token with colored dots. That tells you how many minions are in that group. And they basically make 1 attack. And whoever they attack, it's basically the idea that all 3 stormtroopers are shooting the one person. If they hit you, they hit you. If they missed you, they all missed. And then as you do damage to the minion group, there's going to be a soak number they have and a wound threshold that they have. Usually, most minions, it's 5. It's if they're like heavily armored, it's 5 and 5. If they're mildly armored, it's 3 and 5. So if you do 8 points of damage, a minion disappears. If you do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage, 2 minions disappear because they only soak once on the attack. But if you shoot and kill 1, and then you shoot and do the same damage next time, you're only killing 1 at a time. So if you overclock the damage, it is nice. One thing you can do with minions is if your weapon crits, you can do a crit, which means you just took out a minion with that crit, regardless of the damage. And if you roll a triumph, you could totally ask at any time, does this make them drop their weapons and surrender or run away in fear or whatnot? Because you're the big damn hero, so that's totally a thing.
I feel like you tricked me with saying Star Wars in pretty words with a whole crap ton of math.
But it's all
I think
there's no math, and it does all those calculations for you.
Yep.
You can't tell me there's no math and it does the calculations for me. Because very much me. Okay, oh my god, o'clock at night, and I had to be at my kid's school at 7:20 tomorrow morning, so I can say bye to him because he's going to Catalina Island.
Oh, that's the trip.
Joaquin went there. Joaquin did that.
For a school scuba, not scuba, I keep saying scuba, it's the other one, snorkeling event.
Snorkeling?
A science class weekend.
Hey, if he's snorkeling off the coast of Catalina, he's going to have a blast.
Right? He's super pissed he has to give up his phone and his watch because it's a no electronic trip, but I think he's going to have an amazing time.
Well, if he's on Catalina Island, he's not going to get phone reception for shit anyway. Just totally tell him once they get at the coast, the reception is garbage.
I mean, how about the fact that he's my child, which means he's klutzy, and if he's taking a ferry to an island, with my luck, his phone would drop into the ocean.
You never know. There may be that special baleen whale that will come and bring the phone back to him.
Yeah.
And then they find out the baleen whale is a Soviet spy.
That's cool. It's a nice place from everybody I've talked to.
Oh yeah, I mean he might even get to
I've never made it myself, but
yeah, I've never been. He also gets to do like nighttime snorkeling.
Nice.
So he's definitely gonna see seals then if he's doing that.
I think someone said there's like the. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, someone said I think that like the cool nighttime like colors in the water is happening now.
Phosphorescence.
Yeah, that's it.
Algae. Yeah, we have those in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm. And this is like the last month that he can go and enjoy it too, because it's the beginning of summer and the end of summer when it's all phosphorescent algae. Like during the running of the
Have a
Grunion, it's
blast.
the coolest because you see the teeny tiny fish splashing and glowing in the water. The only thing I miss about living in California is the ocean.
I miss all the things about California except for how much more expensive it is.
That is true.
Can't think of much that I miss, really. Don't miss anything.
I mean, if we just get the proverbial 10.0 and we become oceanfront property, we'll get the beach.
You know, that's what I was told when we moved here was, oh, it's okay. An earthquake will hit and drop California into the ocean. You'll have your beach back. I am still waiting.
But that'd be Yuma, though, not here.
Who are we kidding? It'll wash Yuma away.
Well, initially.
It'll finally put the fires out in Yuma. So I think that pretty much covers everything we need for a session 0, unless there's anything you guys want me to add, like story-wise. We're in the ceasefire era of the Old Republic, so the Sith Empire has captured half the galaxy. The Republic has the other half of the galaxy. Smugglers are not looked as down upon as they used to, because during the war, smugglers actually smuggled food to the capital planets, so they kind of don't mind the black market as much right now. You totally still have the Hutts have their space because nobody really wants it or wants to try to take it, because it's that double-edged sword.
It's the Hutts.
The Hutts.
We're just a transport crew. We could work for either side.
We are me as the pilot is trying to stay as out of trouble as possible and taking mostly legitimate jobs.
There you go. And that's, I'm going to totally make some random charts up so that way we have insta jobs. So it's like you go looking for a job. Okay, are you looking for cargo or passengers? And I can go blip, 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 blip. And here are the 4 jobs you have options to take. Don't worry.
Nice.
All of them have complications.
Just says a note, the ship does have 5 hard points, which means that we could add stuff like concealed smuggling, cargo space. So, if that was something ever wanted.
And remember, smuggling per se is sometimes not really a crime if it's just to get around stupid laws.
Laws are subjective.
I mean, it could totally be that on this planet, the noble prince is basically hiking up medical supply costs because, well, he owns the company that sells it to everyone here. And he doesn't want you bringing relief aid to this place. Even though it's a morally right and legal action, he's basically having every customs inspector impound medical supplies for a period of 2 to 4 years so they go bad before you could sell them on the market.
Or heroes smuggling those supplies in.
Or you could be in CorpSec, now that we've seen with Andor how bad the corporations are. I mean, I do like how they showed those guys. That you could be smuggling people out that are under indentured servitude contracts. And every IT guy will tell you those contracts suck. So sometimes smuggling is the right action for the right reasons. I'm just going to throw that one out there.
I have to tell my hippie ass that.
I mean, and remember.
Well, just...
In the Republic, slavery is illegal, but they have to put up with the Hutts doing it. So maybe you're sneaking some Hutt slaves out of Hutt space.
Well, just with my backstory, I'm trying to stay out of anyone's attention, both the Republic and non-Republic forces. But I also have a moral code, so.
Isn't that something?
So I'm going to be fighting. I don't want anyone's attention, but places are going to burn.
Okay.
All of a sudden, she's like, we're not going to do anything illegal here, but uh-oh, what happened? Much like the sagas of Eric the Red. Someone died, and then we had to go.
See, when Jim and I were talking about this, I described it like Doctor Who, how he's like, no, I can't touch anything, I can't interfere, and always interferes.
And then all of a sudden, he has this hold my beer moment to his companion.
Yes,
We can't mess
I
with
don't
that's
mind.
kind of how I,
until intolerance.
I
how I
just-
kind of see it playing out.
I don't know. I just keep the ship running, man.
Go start
I
the engine
just,
and hold my beer.
I'm just here. Did you see my new character portrait?
Oh, let me go back.
Where'd you put it on your character?
Yeah,
on,
and then
on Roll20 on
and-
her face. Jesus Christ! And you just did that in like what, less than 2 hours?
yeah,
I don't see the. I see the blue dude. Is that the or blue chick? Is that the one?
yeah.
With the
Yeah,
star
I mean, it's
background?
just a different version of her. Yeah,
Yeah, Patoran.
yeah.
With
tor-
the actual tattoos and everything, because you are freaking amazing.
Yee.
Hey, I made my avatar all by myself with the system, and it was super freaking complicated because it was in Japanese.
Oh,
But
was it
came out
Pick-Crew?
really cute.
Oh.
Was
I
it?
don't remember which the whatever website it was that I used doesn't exist anymore.
I was gonna say the
That's
one
alright.
that put that label in the middle of your picture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it looks
that's
like
alright.
it's just a curly hair.
I
Worthy.
borrowed mine from off the web, so
It's very
I'm not
well
creative.
See, this is where I look at Tolly and say, "What do I have to do to get a picture?" And she will give me very concise orders.
You gotta give me specifics.
done.
Here, I'm gonna post it in the chat so you can see it a little bit better.
Oh, in the,
In the face-
Discord chat.
Oh yeah, Discord. I forgot about that.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
Okay, wait a minute.
Roll20
let me
won't
see.
let you post it, unfortunately.
No, I post it in the general. No, I don't want to leave. No, cancel. How do I?
Just click the chat or the text channel.
Well,
Didn't
I was. Because doesn't if I click the text channel will wait, here we go.
Yeah, it looks like it'll make
Okay,
you
there we
yeah.
go.
click it. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I
you can
figured
do
it
it in
out.
the Star one. You could do it in the Star Wars one.
No, I figured it out. I think because I'm still here, right? You hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can still hear
Okay.
you.
Yeah, doesn't change
Okay.
you.
Okay. No, I wasn't sure if I just
Text, voice are two different things.
yeah. All right, I posted it there.
There, where?
On the
In
general
the
tab.
well above it where it says voice channels, there's something that looks like the number sign. If you click on that,
Oh,
that's the
in
chat.
the City of Mist chat. The
Oh,
guy with
shit.
the-
Oh no!
Is this an automatic save on my character sheet?
Yes.
Shit.
I like that.
I wasn't supposed to put it there, was I? God
Okay.
dang
It's
it!
fine.
Well, that's why I was saying
Okay,
there's a
wait.
Star Wars. So I was saying there's a Star Wars one under the text channels.
Okay, there we go. So the City of
That's
Mist,
okay.
whoever's doing City of Mist is like, what the fuck?
Well, they're not anymore, but that's okay.
Technically, they're playing Fallout now.
Okay. All right, I put in the Star Wars one.
No, that's Jim did, but he popped out. There you go.
As I
He's
totally
back.
popped into the wrong channel.
Hello?
Hey, I'm here. I can
No.
hear you.
Okay. I was like,
I
oh no, what's
accidentally
happening?
clicked the one just above. That's the intro Star Wars game.
No. Nice.
There we go. The Star
So.
Wars one.
I was trying to also I'm trying to make her in Hero Forge, but the hairstyles are not. They don't have hairstyles that work. So she's not gonna have the hairstyle I want, but I can at least kind of, I don't know, kind of have something. I like doing stuff.
So I think that means we are officially wrapped up on session 0.
Okay, cool.
So everyone good for the 25th
25th
me double
for our
Yeah.
first session?
Oh yeah. Let me take a check of my calendar.
Be down in Zero Vista all day, but that'll be good.
What is on the 25th? Ta-da!
Here comes
How
the
can
Spider-Man.
October almost be here?
Ew.
Now, is this okay? So, how often is the game?
Bi-weekly.
Is it once a month? Bi-weekly. Okay. Yeah, I could do it. And game starts at 9, right?
Yep, and we're keeping it episodic. So if you can't make it, just let us know, so that way I can,
Okay.
not have a vital member in the thing. And we totally will expect Aurora's little droid to keep everyone alive. If we have a total party kill, the little droid drags you all back to the cargo hold, starts flapping band-aids on you. All of a sudden, you wonder why he wasted 6 stim packs by putting them on our shoes.
Medical. Is he a medical droid?
He's not. That's why he'll be putting the slap patches on your
Okay.
shoes.
Did we decide what kind of
yeah.
droid he is? I don't even remember.
Were you wanting him to be the floaty type of astromech, or the R2 type, or the dog-shaped one? I mean, honestly, the dog-shaped one's always my favorite.
I don't remember. Let's see.
Yeah, in Knights of the Old Republic, remember the astromech that's like, it looks like a dog sitting down, rolling around?
The mouse.
Yeah, I'm drawing a
Let's
blank
see.
on that one, but but
I'll-
just so you know, there is another droid on your ship. So
Yep, you're not the only one with a companion.
I didn't answer the droid questions.
It's true. We
I
were
think
getting
I should have a
we were getting goofy at that point when I was like number 1 or number 2, number 3.
yes.
Number 4.
Like it became an optometrist eye doctor appointment.
but yes, you have a pit droid as well on the ship.
A pit droid.
You know those
Hey.
cute little hubcap ones from
The dumb pit
Phantom Menace?
droids that run around short, have a big dome head that they collapse into.
Oh, okay.
Or the one the chick on Most Shuta has that Mando landed on to get his ship fixed.
If that's the case, then I should definitely have a Rolly Dog droid so it can trip over it.
Droid Wars.
Yes, like BattleBots.
When we're bored, we flip them into evil mode and we have them fight each other.
We
Yes.
staple knives and scissors on them.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. Yes, definitely Rolly Dog droid.
But he's a modified one. He's a little smarter than the average.
Does he say Roger, Roger?
No, that's a combat droid.
I know.
Battle droid, so. No.
You said he was modified, so maybe he has Roger, Roger.
E1NK.
Oh.
Because your
This
droids
is gonna be
have silly
fun.
names.
Of course.
Roger.
Well, that's Tink, but which is short for Tinkerer.
I still love Kelly's B00M.
Yep. He helps repair the ship, so be nice to him.
Nice.
He totally holds the flashlight and gets the tools for you and doesn't have to get yelled at for it. He's better than a youngling. He doesn't drop the hubcap full of nuts. He is the hubcap full of nuts.
I was gonna say he
I was
doesn't
gonna
try
say-
to eat him, does he?
Unless you scare him, and then he, hubcaps up.
Nom nom nom. Okay, so we will say that's probably a good place to wrap it up there, since I'm sure we all need sleeps.
Yes.
Yes.
And
And
thank you,
Yeah.
Talia, for making it, even though you should be sleeping with your bronchitis.
Yeah. I've been.
Make sure you sleep in tomorrow.
Well, except
yeah.
that you typically can't sleep with bronchitis because when you lay down, then you start coughing.
Yeah, that's the problem that I'm
The
having.
rattle.
Unless you got some good cough syrup with codeine.
Yeah, they gave me cough syrup with codeine, which I took
Nice.
right before us getting on this call.
Oh, well,
So
that probably wasn't the best thing, but
that's
you held
why I
up
have.
pretty well.
Well, it's why I have not coughed once during this whole thing. So
Yeah.
You lived.
So it'll start as soon as she
lived.
lays down.
And then comes the
But,
rattle. Uh-oh. We
Speaking
God
of-
damn
talked
it.
about it. Now it comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you look at my character sheet and the droid and everything?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Good night.
All right.
Good
night.
Oh my God, your droid's so cute. All right.
And
Good
now in a
night.
few weeks, we're going to find out Talia has inspiration material. And she's going to go nuts.
Right.
Yes.
I don't tend to draw droids because they have a lot more straight lines, and I can't make straight lines very well, or any kind of symmetry. Yeah, because if you look at my face that I made, like one eye is bigger than the other because I'm not very symmetrical.
Nice. Well, I screw up stick figures, so I mean, I suck at drawing
Hey.
anything.
I mean,
All right, guys.
at Comic-Con, here we're talking about a major artist, Scott Collins. And he's just
Mhm.
like,
Nice.
I hate cityscapes because they're all straight lines.
Yeah, I hate them.
He's
I
like,
hate.
he was talking about his newest creation. Basically, it's a girl trapped in the woods that when bad things happen, she gets a magic evil mask and a knife and she kills things. And Patra,
Oh,
he's like, I love
cool.
it because everything has the spooky forest look, so no tree has a single straight line on it because he can't do straight lines for shit. And I'm like, this is a guy who's been doing this kind of artwork for 30 years as an inker, a color in the comics, working for Marvel, working for DC, and he's like, straight lines, I hate them.
They're the devil.
He's like, the Flash always had straight lines following behind him. I drew those last.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, his one joke was
Yeah.
he loved drawing Spider-Man, but could not draw Peter Parker for the life of him. So
That's
he would always
hilarious.
prefer to do as much mask or facial damage as he could on Peter Parker.
That's kind of hilarious.
Funny.
All right, guys. Good
All right, guys.
night.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Oops.